Good evening, everyone. It's great to see everyone tonight. I'm Scott Ralls, president of Wake Tech Community College, and I'll be your MC tonight. And I'm thrilled to welcome you to the 2021 State of the County Address. And I couldn't be more excited that Chair Calabria chose our new WakeWorks Apprenticeship Center as the place to host this important event this evening. You know, it was just about an hour ago we joined our county commission partners to officially cut the ribbon on this center, which will help students of all ages get state-of-the-art training in skilled trades like carpentry and plumbing, and as you can see behind me, HVAC repair this evening through scholarships and paid apprenticeships made possible in part by Wake County. Now, this program is going to make a big difference in creating new employment opportunities for our residents, and I look forward to telling you more about it a little later in tonight's program. Now, this evening, I'm surrounded by some of the smartest and most dedicated leaders in our community who are doing great things to move Wake County forward. And you're going to hear about the progress the county, our great public school system, and Wake Tech have made this year, as well as the economic strides we've taken despite the challenges that have been created by the pandemic. We'll share those milestones with two audiences this evening. We have a small in-person audience this evening that we've purposely limited so that we can follow social distancing and the COVID-19 safety protocols. And we have a much larger audience online watching our live broadcast of the event from their computers and their mobile devices. Now, whether you're virtual or in person, we're glad you're here tonight, and I'm happy to welcome you to Wake Tech. Now, the Wake County Board of Commissioners is made up of 7 public servants who work hard to support the needs of more than 1.1 million people who now call Wake County home. And from affordable housing and education to public safety and parks, the commissioners are working hard to provide our community with programs and services that will make our residents' lives better. But instead of hearing about all the positive things and the positive steps that they're taking from me, let's hear directly from the commissioners themselves. Just take a look.
2021 has been one of the most challenging years in Wake County's history, but it's also seen some of our greatest advances to date. We've endured the ongoing challenge of COVID-19 while making our largest ever economic development announcements, supporting education at unprecedented levels, and tackling our affordable housing challenges head-on. I'm Matt Calabria, and as chair of the Wake County Commission, I'm proud of the good work that we've done. I invite you to hear from my fellow commissioners as they share milestones from the past year that have made our county an even better place to live, work, learn, and play.
More than 1.1 million residents now live in Wake County. And as more people move here, we must continue making sure that they can afford a place to live. For some, that means being able to rent an apartment near their workplace. For others, it means being able to buy a home near their child's school. I'm Vicki Adamson, Vice Chair of the Wake County Commission, and we don't want our residents to get priced out of our market. That's why we're laser focused on 2 things: preserving the current number of affordable housing units we already have and adding new ones to our inventory. We are actively supporting renters who are on the verge of eviction due to the pandemic. To date, our House Wake COVID-19 Financial Assistance Program has received 9,000 applications for help and has spent or obligated more than $20 million in assistance to keep people off the streets and in their homes.
I'm Commissioner Maria Cervagna, and getting our community vaccinated against COVID-19 is critically important. While 80% of our adult population in Wake County has gotten at least 1 shot, there are pockets of the population in which the rate is not as high. That's where our community outreach comes into play. Teams of educators and nurses have been going door to door in our neighborhoods where COVID cases are high and vaccination rates are low. These teams share facts about the virus and address questions and concerns. Thanks to those conversations, more and more residents have chosen to get vaccinated, often right in their own homes. We've also held successful vaccination clinics at historically African American churches and local mosques, and formed partnerships with groups like El Centro Hispano, all in an effort to reach people where they are, with important health and safety information from those they trust.
I'm Commissioner Susan Evans, and I'm proud to say this board fully supports our education continuum in Wake County. From cradle to college, our youngest residents have a strong path forward. It starts with Wake 3 School, our new pre-K program to help lower-income 3-year-olds get off on the right foot. Then it moves through the award-winning Wake County Public School System and ends at Wake Tech, which offers more than 200 different areas of study. We provide substantial funding for each phase of the continuum to help ensure this generation and all the ones coming after are equipped with the knowledge, skills, and confidence to launch successful careers and live full lives. And when the public school system needed help during the peak of the pandemic, we were there for them. We provided the district with more than $29 million in additional resources to help them adapt to the ever-changing challenges brought about by the pandemic. So even when we're responding to a global health crisis, our eye is still on education.
2021 has been an incredibly busy year for our public safety agencies. In addition to their regular duties, our emergency management teams, firefighters, law enforcement officers, and EMS crews worked closely with our public health team to lead the fight against COVID-19. Thanks to their hard work, our drive-through vaccine clinic at PNC gave life-saving shots to 87,000 people from February to May. The team that leads our response to these emergencies, ranging from pandemics to hurricanes to snowstorms, works out of one room called the Emergency Operations Center, or EOC. Its current location doesn't provide enough space to accommodate all the staff that we need during large-scale crises. That's why I'm proud to announce that Wake County is building a new, more modern EOC that will better meet the needs of our growing community. And we're saving taxpayers money by taking advantage of more than $1 million in federal funds to defray the cost of construction. On the fire safety front, 4 local fire departments improved the quality of their service so much that it decreased their state insurance ratings. These ratings are important because insurance companies use them to determine how much to charge for fire insurance. Improved scores mean some businesses in Apex, Morrisville, Wendell, and Zebulon could see their premiums drop, saving them hundreds or even thousands of dollars apiece.
What's up, Wake County? Commissioner Sig Hutchinson here to talk about how we're making your life even better here in Wake County. Starting right here. This is one of our newest nature preserves. This is Sandy Pines, 580 acres that will be opening in the next couple of weeks. We can't wait to see you out here. In addition to that, we have Beach Bluff, which is outside of Garner, and let's not forget Kellum Wyatt Farm outside of Raleigh. On the transit front, we have already achieved our goal of connecting all 12 municipalities up to transit. We're working on the first leg of our bus rapid transit, a brand new technology along Newbern Avenue. And if you still haven't gotten your vaccine yet, we can help you out. Go Wake Access can provide free transportation, so either give us a call or go on the website. We'll hook you up, we'll take you down to the health center, and we'll get it done.
I'm Commissioner Shanika Thomas, and as a board, we believe internet connectivity is important. The bottom line is, if you can't access high-speed internet, it's very difficult to function in our modern world. You can't work from home, you can't take online classes, and you can't pay bills electronically. That's why we're working with the state to help figure out how to expand internet access more affordably and equitably. With our own organization, we're focusing like never before on improving diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've created a new position for a DEI director and allocated funds to help this position identify and implement new strategies to make Wake County an employer of choice. We also enacted the Crown Act, which means hairstyle, types, or textures historically associated with race are now protected in Wake County's employee non-discrimination policy. Through these steps and others, we hope to serve as a role model for other municipalities and businesses to follow.
I am Commissioner James West, and I believe the work we are doing to elevate our most vulnerable residents, making our community better as a whole. As they say, a rising tide lifts all boats. Our social and economic vitality team powered through the pandemic, never stopping their efforts to build up some of our most underserved residents. They secured an $84,000 grant to explore development of a co-working hub for grassroots nonprofit, small businesses, and faith-based groups in Southeast Raleigh. They also celebrated nearly 50 people graduating from the life coaching program called Mindset, which helps participants find a path to self-sufficiency. And they work extremely hard to protect our vulnerable residents from COVID-19 by giving out thousands of free masks, sponsoring vaccination clinics, and distributing free meals. Along those lines, our Live Well Wake initiative received a $3.8 million grant from the CDC to address COVID-19 related health disparities in Wake County. The project unites the county with community organizations and historically Black colleges and universities to advance health equity through innovative solutions. We must keep Wake County vibrant, sustainable, and inclusive through empowered action. The best of the county can be realized when we all win.
As you can see, we're doing incredible work here in Wake County. From equity and education to affordable housing and public health, we are firmly focused on serving the community and helping to ensure that no matter who you are, you'll have an opportunity to prosper here in Wake County.
Wow, there's a lot to be excited about in that video. There's a lot to be excited about if you're a resident of Wake County. And I want to give a special shout out to Commissioner Evans for noting Wake Tech is part of a remarkable education continuum that's here in Wake County. And if I may, I'd like to take just a moment to give you a little bit of a state of Wake Tech so that you can get a sense of the role that your community's college is playing in your community now and what we're planning for the future. Now, the past year and a half have been difficult for every one of us, but the people of Wake Tech, I believe, have really stepped up to the challenge. And we've been reaching out and rallying around our students and our community, and in doing so, we've tried not to be defined by our challenges, but instead by the opportunities to prepare students for an exciting future that's here in Wake County. Since the pandemic hit in the spring of 2020, we've rallied around our students as never before with services and support to help them navigate the challenging times so they can reach their academic and career goals. During that time, we've provided 1,500 free laptops to students, provided 4,400 students with Food Line gift cards. As of this month, we've connected more than 21,000 of our students with emergency aid and free bus passes. And we've supported more than 4,000 entrepreneurs with business owners with the information they need to start and resources in some cases to keep their businesses afloat during this challenging time. We are Wake County's Opportunity College, providing a ladder to opportunity for all. And we're a college where essential workers train for the critical jobs of today and tomorrow. Since the start of the pandemic, 200 Wake Tech nursing graduates have moved to the healthcare front lines, and another 60 will join them next month when they graduate. We've trained dozens of pharmacy techs to administer vaccines, and we're the county's home, proud to be the county's home for training law enforcement, fire service personnel, EMTs, which are in such high demand. To prepare people for the jobs of the future, it's important that you have the labs and equipment to replicate the jobs that are here and that will be here in our future years to come. Now, a great example is the facility we're in right now, tonight. And thanks to the support of Wake County, the Wake County Board of Commissioners, we've doubled down on apprenticeship, the gold standard of work-based learning. And with the opening of this great new apprenticeship center, which we celebrate tonight, we're able to offer WakeWorks apprenticeship opportunities to hundreds of students, allowing them to learn on the job while earning a salary and professional credentials in skilled trades and other high-demand employment opportunities. Now, private donors are crucial to the WakeWorks program and to all of the programs of our college. And despite these challenging times, the Wake Tech Foundation has experienced its two greatest fundraising years in just these past couple of years, garnering record numbers of private gifts that enhance programs like the ones where we are tonight. And as we look forward to a future bond request, we want to thank the Wake County voters for the unwavering and overwhelming support of the past, which has allowed our college to move forward with new state-of-the-art workforce facilities where Wake County residents gain the latest skills, such as our newly opened Hendricks Center for Automotive Excellence on our northern campus, now one of the premier automotive training centers in the entire United States. Our new Center for Building Technologies on our southern campus with the latest HVAC and electrical equipment. Our second building on our RTP campus in Morrisville, which is dedicated to biotechnology and IT programs, and an exciting new venture with Wake County's public schools, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. And next month, you'll be hearing more about the great plans and opportunities in eastern Wake County as we do a groundbreaking for an exciting new future in Wendell and in eastern Wake. Now, in addition to new facilities, we're constantly adding new programs to meet our workforce needs. And just this year, we added biotechnology that goes along with our biopharma manufacturing technology program, public safety administration, building automation, sonography, and teacher preparation. And as we've added new programs, we're taking existing programs to new places. Our cybersecurity program achieved national recognition as a certified academic excellence program. Our analytics program is the only community college program in the nation that's part of the national credentialing effort with the Business Roundtable. And we're sponsoring a record number of National Science Foundation grants in vital areas for our community's future, including cloud computing, photogrammetry, building automation, and STEM preparation. And during a time when our nation has really faced some significant economic challenges, here in our community, we've seen a record number of new job announcements. And Wake Tech has been part of that effort, part of that team within all those announcements, such as the new Fujifilm Diosynth Biotechnologies plant coming to Holly Springs, the largest biotech economic investment in North Carolina history. We've launched a new mechatronics robotics training partnership with Amazon, which is right next door, teaching Amazon apprentices right here in new mechatronics and robotics. And we've partnered with Red Hat as the only institution offering the Red Hat Certified Administrator certification as a standalone program. But beyond the large corporations whose names everyone recognizes, we pay particular attention to the partnerships with smaller local businesses, such as the local members who are members of the North Carolina Triangle Apprenticeship Program. And our support for entrepreneurship and small business development has reached new heights this year with record levels of free counseling and course support, launch program partnerships now with 9 Wake County communities, downtown partnership, pop-up partnerships with Raleigh, and stay tuned for an exciting new entrepreneurship partnership with our colleagues at Shaw and St. Aug's. You know, partnerships are really at the core of our focus as an opportunity college. We believe in and we practice extreme partnering. And perhaps, maybe not perhaps, our strongest partner is the Wake County Public Schools, offering high school students a ladder to high quality, affordable higher education through Wake Tech, right here in Wake County. The number of students taking free dual enrollment classes through our Career and College Promise program has jumped 263% in the last 5 years. And hundreds more taking advantage of the opportunities at our 3 cooperative innovative high schools, Wake Early College of Health Sciences, Vernon Malone, the North Wake College and Career Academy, and next year, we look forward to offering an exciting new opportunity opening on our RTP campus, the new Wake Early College High School of Information and Biotechnologies. Now, our university partners, our local partners particularly, NC State, William P., Shaw, St. Aug's, and others are crucial partners in our efforts to provide what we call ladders to opportunity to not just jobs, but also even further advanced degrees and career mobility. And over the past 2 years, we've developed many new partnership agreements that are too numerous to list tonight, but each continue a ladder of opportunity for Wake County students and Wake County residents. And central to our mission to rally around our community is our particular focus on transforming lives in the economically vulnerable areas of our county. That's why we've dubbed our 4-year strategic plan Reach and Rally. And for us, it's more than a mantra. It's our mission to reach out to all parts of Wake County and rally around our students to go as far as their dreams, their talents, and their resilience will take them. And during this year, you could see that this mantra became reality with new school and community partnerships in the economically vulnerable areas of our county. And while higher education has faced some real challenges in the past 2 years, no sector has felt greater challenges than the community college sector, where enrollments have declined 14.6% over the last 2 years. Now, fortunately here, thanks to the support of our county commissioners, our citizens, our educational and industry partnerships, our enrollment has stayed relatively steady, dipped just a little bit, but remained way ahead of the national trends that have been so troubling. Now finally, from personal experience, I truly believe that Wake Tech is America's most comprehensive opportunity college, offering more doors to opportunity than I think any other college in the country. We provide more programs that lead to opportunities for our citizens to climb the ladder of opportunity, especially those in our most vulnerable areas of our economic landscape in our community. In Wake County, we are so fortunate to have many career opportunities, and as I say, tall ladders right here in Wake County. But we believe it's Wake Tech's specific role to be our community's ladder college, so that all have the opportunity to economically prosper in an economically prosperous community. We're extremely grateful for the confidence and support of our county commissioners and the Wake County citizens that you have in your community's college. And we look forward to this exciting time as we move forward to change the lives for better and prepare our workforce for the future. Thank you for that moment. Now, it was mentioned the continuum of education in Wake County, and I can't really, honestly, I can't think of a better place where you have a continuum of education than Wake County. And our next speaker will focus on education. Keith Sutton's currently the chair of the Wake County Board of Education, and he also serves as the interim superintendent of Warren County Public Schools. He grew up in Rocky Mount. He attended Edgecombe County Schools, and so he understands the complexities of both urban areas like ours and rural communities as well. And I'm fortunate to work with him, his fellow board members, Superintendent Moore, as we try to help high school students take that next step on a path to a rewarding career through Wake Tech. And tonight, he'll share with us some of the great accomplishments the Wake County Public Schools have made in 2021. So it's my pleasure to welcome Chair Sutton.
Good evening. Thank you, Scott, for that warm introduction. I appreciate that. Isn't this a great facility for us to be in for this occasion this evening? So thank you again all for taking your time out to be here this evening. And thank you, Wake County, and especially Wake Tech, for hosting us this evening. I also want to thank you all for this opportunity to speak with you this evening and share a few remarks about the Wake County Public School System. Before I do, I want to recognize my colleagues that are here in the audience, members of the Wake County Board of Education, would you stand? I know I've seen a few of you, so I'm not sure who is here. I don't want to start calling folks out, but so I think we're here with the whole board, with the exception of Dr. Martin, who is in Germany now on a month-long trip. But our Vice Chair, Lindsay Mahaffey, Board Member Karen Carter, Christine Kushner, Mr. Haggerty, Chris Haggerty, Monica Johnson-Hostler. I think I also see Superintendent Moore back there as well. Is she here? And then also Heather Scott. So thank you all for being here as well. Again, give our governance team a round of applause, please. Since the outbreak of COVID-19, our overarching goal has been to return students safely to in-person instruction. So while we continue to face challenges related to the ongoing pandemic, I'm pleased to report that the vast majority of our students, almost 95%, are receiving daily in-person instruction as they have for the entire school year thus far. The remaining students are enrolled in the district's virtual academy, an important option for those who need it, but one we are not likely to retain in its current form past the end of this school year. Our ability to successfully return to in-person instruction was made possible by strict adherence to COVID-19 health and safety protocols and the vaccination of at least 90% of our workforce. Both of these measures have greatly limited secondary transmissions within our school buildings. In fact, secondary transmissions have been falling steadily for 2 months, even before the overall community infection rate began to decline. At any given time, less than 0.5% of students are required to quarantine, and most of our schools now go weeks without recording a single secondary transmission on campus. Reported cases and clusters continue to go down. In response, some of you might have noticed that the school system was able to slightly relax guidelines this week that required face coverings outdoors. If these trends continue, we hope to relax additional requirements in the coming weeks and months. Face coverings indoors are still required and will be for the foreseeable future. I'm grateful to all of our students and staff for doing their part to limit the spread of COVID-19 to get us to this point. And I'm of course grateful to our health services team and the Wake County Health Department, which have worked closely with us since day one of the pandemic. As I mentioned, the return to in-person instruction has not come without its challenges. The COVID-19 pandemic has been the single most disruptive event in the modern history of public education, and we are still feeling its effects. The main challenge has stemmed from critical shortages of staff, particularly instructional assistants, substitute teachers, bus drivers, special education teachers, child nutrition staff, and other support staff. All of this has had a profound impact on day-to-day school operations. This is part of the nationwide labor shortage, but it has shined a light on a harsh reality that is specific to public schools. Specifically, the pay and salary structure for the work our employees do is simply not adequate. We realize salary schedules are set by the state, and we are extremely appreciative of the county commissioners who provide us the funding that allows the school board to supplement state salaries throughout the years. But our salary schedules are inadequate in the broader labor market. You may have seen the headlines generated this week by bus drivers who did not report to work and employees at every level who made clear to board members just this week that current pay is inadequate. In acknowledgement of that fact, our school board on Tuesday approved a recognition and retention bonus of $1,250 for each employee. We also set the minimum hourly rate at $13 per hour. We agree with our employees that bonus payments and hourly rates that fall well below $15 are not adequate. However, these changes are what we can afford right now using local dollars. We anticipate future bonuses will be paid with one-time federal money provided as part of the federal government's pandemic relief funding. But long-term, we are going to need significant changes at the state level if we are to ensure a stable and appropriately compensated workforce. We will likely need additional support also from local funding. Because if there's one thing this pandemic has taught us, it is that school employees are essential workers. They are essential both for the academic success of students and also for the stability and well-being of our families and our communities. On the academic front, the pandemic caused many students to fall behind in the classroom. We have always said public schools are built on personal relationships and face-to-face instruction. The first year of the pandemic made that painfully obvious at times. Our summer learning program supported more than 10,000 students who needed extra instruction just to catch up. And every school has made it a top priority to analyze the data that guides necessary interventions for individual students. But this is a process that is going to take time. And again, it highlights the critical need to make sure our staff members are fully supported and appropriately compensated. Since the start of the pandemic, we have prioritized the social emotional health of our students and staff, and we are continuing to find new ways to support mental health. Again, on Tuesday, the school board discussed the many strategies our student services team is implementing to promote student mental health in every school and improve mental health support systems. This pandemic has taken a toll on the mental health of many students, and we will continue to provide training for all staff members to give them the tools to support students and families. The good news is we are better equipped to do this than we were prior to March 2020. Virtual learning helped our teachers and principals build stronger connections between home and school, and gave them new skills and tools to support different learning styles. We will continue to leverage these lessons learned this school year and beyond. All things considered, I can't help but marvel at the resilience, adaptability, and dedication of our students and our staff. They are facing these unprecedented challenges head on, and each day they bring new progress. And even amid the challenges, there has been much to celebrate this year. Just this fall, we were fortunate to cut the ribbon on 2 new schools, Willow Spring High and South Lakes Elementary, and on 2 new school renovations, Fuquay-Varina High and Conn Elementary. The joy and excitement were evident on the faces of students and staff as they celebrated these beautiful new facilities. These moments would not have been possible without the foresight of our school board, the careful planning of our facilities team, the commitment of our county commissioners, or the generosity of Wake County voters who have supported our capital improvement bond initiatives. I am personally grateful to serve a community that clearly values its public school system and is willing to invest to make sure that students have world-class facilities for decades to come. This spring, we also graduated our largest class ever, more than 12,000 students. This year's class posted a graduation rate of 90.3%. That is something to be proud of. About half of our high schools maintained or improved their graduation rate over 2020, and 22 high schools had rates above 90%, including 4 schools that achieved 100% graduation rates. Our driving goal remains to graduate all students ready for productive citizenship as well as college or career. For 15 years, including this past year, we have maintained the highest number of national board certified teachers in the nation. More than 3,000 teachers have achieved this milestone while working in the Wake County Public School System. In January, Raleigh Magnet Elementary was named the top magnet elementary school in the nation. And our Office of Magnet and Curriculum Enhancement Programs secured a $14.1 million grant from the U.S. Department of Education that will support additional language immersion, language enhancement, and global studies programs at 4 magnet schools. The strength of our district leadership was recognized with 3 major statewide awards. Our superintendent, Kathy Moore, was named North Carolina Superintendent of the Year by the North Carolina PTA. Broughton High School Principal Dr. Elena Ashburn was named the Wells Fargo, North Carolina Principal of the Year. And Darren Coe was named Athletic Director of the Year by the North Carolina Athletic Directors Association. In closing, one of our strategic plan core beliefs states that Wake County residents value a strong public school system and will partner to provide the support and resources to fully realize our shared vision, accomplish the mission, and sustain our core beliefs. As we build from the hard-earned experiences of the current pandemic, I want to take this moment to offer thanks for the support of our community and promise you that we will repay the support with a school district that is better than ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Sutton. And now it's my privilege to introduce tonight's keynote speaker. Matt Calabria serves as chair of the Wake County Board of Commissioners. And in this role, he leads the county's goal setting and policy efforts to help ensure that Wake County continues to be a place where people want to live, work, learn, and play. And he also serves as the chair of the board's Public Safety Committee, where he focuses on fighting the opioid epidemic and ensuring that first responders have adequate equipment and staffing to protect our community. And I'd also like to note, he's been the catalytic champion of the WakeWorks Apprenticeship Program, which we celebrated earlier. Now, when he's not governing, he works as an attorney here in Raleigh. But I suspect, even with all his remarkable accomplishments, his most proud accomplishment is his 3-year-old daughter, Eleanor, who looked adorable this past weekend at Halloween, where she was dressed up as Max from Where the Wild Things Are. Please join me in welcoming Chair Calabria.
Good evening. Thank you very much, President Ralls, for that kind introduction. My daughter Eleanor is watching tonight, so I'm sure she very much appreciated hearing her name as she watches. Thank you to all the elected officials and county leaders who are joining us tonight. Thank you to all of those who are joining us remotely. Before I get started, I'd like to recognize my colleagues on the County Commission, all of whom are here tonight. Vice Chair Vicki Adamson, Dr. James West, Commissioner Sig Hutchinson, Commissioner Susan Evans, Commissioner Maria Cervania, and Commissioner Shanika Thomas. I also want to recognize County Manager David Ellis and also County Attorney Scott Warren, who couldn't be here tonight, and also all of our county staff who do just a tremendous job. Thank you. Wake County's success is determined in large part by the work of our staff, and we are absolutely blessed in Wake County to have a tremendous, world-class staff, and so we benefit from that day in and day out. Thank you for all that you do. Tonight I have two goals. First, I hope to demonstrate how Wake County is reaching new heights, even despite our continued battle against COVID-19. We can't overlook our challenges, of course, but in so many ways, when compared to our peers and our past, the state of our county proves to be not just strong, but superlative. Second, I hope to describe to you why I think Wake County is flourishing and what we need to do to continue on our positive course. The state's first case of COVID-19 was right here in Wake County. It started with a few sick travelers, and a year and a half later, the disease has caused more than 130,000 confirmed cases in Wake County and claimed nearly 900 lives. I would go so far as to say that the pandemic has probably created the single most challenging period for Wake County in our lifetimes. You can measure it in lives or dollars or health impacts or the level of commitment that it's taking to overcome it. But I'm proud to tell you that Wake County is a national leader when it comes to pandemic response. Many listening to this tonight will have gotten tested at one of the county's testing sites. It turns out that virtually nowhere else in the entire country has provided free, convenient testing to everyone like Wake County has. You could get tested in your area without getting out of your car, and you probably got the test results before you went to sleep that night. On the vaccination side, we are well ahead of almost every other place in the state and the country. 83% of Wake County adults have gotten at least one dose of the vaccine. Our efforts have included not just mass vaccination sites like the one you see here at PNC Arena, but we have really beaten the bushes, vaccinating at churches and schools and grocery stores and even going door to door to make sure that every single person in this county has had an opportunity to get vaccinated. And for folks who are struggling financially, we have pulled out all the stops. We've approved nearly $10 million in loans to hundreds of small businesses, barbershops, cafes, restaurants, you name it. And since March of 2020, we have served 13 million meals to families going hungry. That's about 22,000 meals every single day. I don't know of any other county in the state doing meal distribution at that scale. This took a tremendous effort on the part of thousands, and we owe a great deal of thanks to our public health folks, our first responders, our volunteers, and healthcare workers like this one, who happens to be my wife. We are by no means out of the woods yet, but we certainly do have a lot to be proud of. You would think after a year and a half of the pandemic that our economy would be in a precarious position. Thankfully, that's not the case. And in fact, by some measures, we're having the best year on record. Despite the pandemic, our economic development group landed more new jobs and generated more corporate investment than in any previous year. That's more than $3.75 billion in investment, most of which is not Apple, by the way, and nearly 6,000 new jobs. On top of that, Wake County is back to essentially full employment. Our labor market is so tight that we have literally thousands of job openings, especially in skilled trades like electricians, HVAC maintenance, paramedics, and also professions like cybersecurity. However, we have more than 120,000 households making less than $50,000 a year, which, depending on family size, could put them within 200% of the poverty line. So how do we reconcile that? How do we reconcile the fact that less than 4% of our workers are looking for jobs, but so many more families are one missed paycheck away from the street? Well, I think there are at least two key takeaways here. First, in Wake County, by and large, struggling families are working families. Second, there's a mismatch between the jobs that we have available and the qualifications of the people that we have to potentially do those jobs. So if we want to help people make better lives for themselves and their families, the answer can't just be to create more jobs. We should do that, of course, but we also have to create good jobs, well-paying jobs across the economic spectrum, and also create avenues for economic mobility. That's why just days before the pandemic broke out, Wake County launched WakeWorks, a groundbreaking new program that provides paid apprenticeships and full Wake Tech scholarships to students enrolling in critical need professions like the ones I mentioned just a moment ago. WakeWorks proved so successful that Wake Tech saw fit to build this brand new WakeWorks Center where we sit and where I stand right now. Everyone knows that the real estate market in Wake County is red hot. That's good in that it's the byproduct of being the kind of place that people want to live, but we, of course, also know that that creates a lot of challenges for low-wage earners and people on fixed incomes and really anyone who wants an affordable home. I believe that affordable housing is probably the single most acute challenge that our county will face over the next few years, aside potentially from COVID-19, but I want you to know that we have made addressing it an absolute top priority. We set a 5-year goal of creating 2,500 affordable units in this county, and as of right now, we are just a handful of units away from achieving that goal, and it's only year 3. In 2014, the county invested just $5 million into affordable housing. Since then, we nearly quintupled the county's level of annual support to nearly $25 million. We also created a groundbreaking new fund that, if all goes well, is expected to raise more than $60 million in public and private financing to preserve existing affordable housing before it's redeveloped. And we've also chosen to prioritize affordable housing in our use of CARES Act and ARP funds, resulting in nearly $100 million for affordable housing in this fiscal year alone. Especially with so many people hurting as a result of the pandemic, we're providing rental and utility assistance. We're mediating between landlords and tenants, and when necessary, we're helping people get relocated into new housing as well. Unfortunately, we have many veterans experiencing homelessness in Wake County. Mindful of the special debt of gratitude that we owe these men and women, 3 years ago, we set the goal of totally eliminating veteran homelessness in Wake County by the end of this year. And I am proud to tell you that we are on track to hit that goal right on time. The county's role in public education has experienced a sea change over the last several years. I have never seen a better, more positive relationship between the school board and the county commission than the one we have right now. And that's enabled us to get some amazing things done for our residents. For one, we've been working together to get through a school construction and renovation backlog left over from the Great Recession. Since 2014, we've opened 24 new schools on top of the 169 schools that we already had. Regarding the school's operating budget, the budget we passed last June represents the county's largest investment ever in the public school system. Not long ago, a single school nurse would often have to travel to 4 or 5 or even 6 schools. Our school-to-nurse ratio now is down to 2-to-1, which isn't where we want it, but is certainly a huge improvement nonetheless. Amid the stresses of COVID-19 and all the intensifying challenges that our young people face, we've been able to increase the number of school counselors, social workers, and psychologists by 34%. And although we certainly have a long way to go when it comes to teacher pay and compensation really for all of our educators, Wake County teachers are now the best paid in the state because we must continue to recruit and retain wonderful, life-changing teachers for our young people. But our efforts aren't limited to K-12. Our work to extend pre-K options to our poorest children has been so successful that we've achieved effectively universal pre-K for all 4-year-olds within 200% of the poverty line. Most other counties would only dream of doing that. And earlier this year, my colleagues and I built on that success by launching an innovative new pre-K program that we're calling Wake 3 School. The program will extend preschool options to low-income 3-year-olds, creating for them one of the most proven, effective, and cost-effective opportunities that we can. And that brings me to tonight's major policy announcement. The pandemic shined a light on areas where we've long had room for improvement. Therefore, my colleagues and I have chosen to utilize American Rescue Plan funds not just to address immediate COVID-related needs, but to rebuild our community better than it was before. Tonight, I'm proud to announce the launch of a $62 million package we're calling Elevate Wake, a sweeping set of programs designed to improve the lives of all of our residents, especially those hurting the most. For example, all too often a person's life expectancy is determined more by their zip code than by their genetic code. That's why we're allocating $12 million to more fully address what are known as the social determinants of health. A lack of stable housing, inadequate transportation, a shortage of nutritious food, all of these things negatively impact the health of our most vulnerable residents. By working with local providers, we can break down these barriers and help folks live longer, better lives. We're devoting $10 million to increasing capacity in our homeless shelters and permanently housing residents faster than ever before. We're investing $4 million to strengthen our food security programs so that no family goes hungry. And because COVID-19 has made it even more difficult for people in our jail to re-enter the community, we're dedicating $3 million to housing, transportation, and training opportunities that will reduce recidivism and empower people to achieve healthy, productive citizenship once again. Lastly, in our country and our county, the fire service is perhaps the least diverse field of government service. Nationally, 4% of firefighters are women. In Wake County, it's 3%. Even more glaring, all women and racial and ethnic minorities combined represent just 6% in our fire service. That's why we're launching a program to expand our recruitment efforts and to encourage more women and people of color to work for the departments in our fire tax district. By being honest with ourselves about where we have room to improve, we are finally doing a lot of things that have been a long time coming. And I want you to know that we have done all of this while maintaining our AAA bond rating and keeping our property tax rate low. The tax rate we set last June is actually lower than it was in my first budget 7 years ago. So out of all 100 counties in North Carolina, the tax rate in big urban Wake County is 70th in the state. Let's talk about thank you. Let's talk about the path ahead. It is no secret that Wake County is one of the most prosperous places in the entire country. We have an incredibly high quality of life, a strong public school system, and one of the lowest unemployment rates in the nation. Why? Ultimately, I believe that two things have made Wake County great, and if we're going to continue to stay on the cutting edge, we have got to continue those two things. First, Wake County makes smart investments. In the 1950s, we began investing in RTP, and now it's a tremendous hub of innovation and commerce. Another example is transit. As we grow, we know we don't want to be choked by traffic, and so the transit referendum we passed in 2016 is heading that off by tripling bus service and building a commuter rail line across the county. Second, Wake County seeks not just to be excellent, but to be good. In a society that's working correctly, incentives are aligned such that the right thing and the smart thing are the same thing. For example, we build affordable housing because we care about our working families, and companies see that their employees won't someday be priced out. We invest in worker training because we want people to have a decent living, and companies see that they'll have access to talent. We build beautiful parks and greenways and museums because we care about our residents' quality of life, and companies see a place that even their executives might want to live. The reality is that the companies that we're recruiting don't just look at the immediate bottom line. In fact, a few months ago, I was speaking with one of Apple's vice presidents to talk about that amazing new facility that they're putting in RTP. And I asked him about what their priorities were with respect to their site and what the county might be able to do to help. Now, he could have said anything. He could have said building permits or utility hookups or help with workforce training, but the first words out of his mouth were sustainability, accessibility, and racial equity and inclusion. And that is in remarkable alignment with many of the things that we're working on as a county. In this community, we are focusing on equity and on creating economic opportunity for folks regardless of their socioeconomic status, race, town of residence, or any other characteristic. The twofold task before Wake County lies first in continuing our streak of incredible prosperity, and second in ensuring that everyone can participate in it. Wake County is forward-thinking. Wake County cares about its people. We are smart with a heart, and that is why we succeed. And because the best results come from the best processes, we're going to keep doing it the Wake County way, which is to say that we'll make decisions collaboratively and with the broad involvement of the entire community. You know, a couple of times a year, at least before the pandemic, we would go on these intercity trips to Boston or Austin or Dallas or Denver. And having been on a number of those, my observation is that Wake County is unique in the degree to which our stakeholders work together. Most people have no idea how rare it is for the realtors and the social justice community and the home builders and the churches and the chambers and the nonprofits and elected officials all to be working together to solve collective problems like housing or transit. But it's a wonderful thing that we do that here. I am truly honored to be a part of a county that has the right skill set and the right mindset to attract industry-leading companies like Apple and Fujifilm, to be a world leader in innovation, and to forge a path toward greater prosperity for everyone. Thank you for being a part of it too.
Well, thank you, Chair Calabria, for those inspiring remarks. We certainly have a lot to be proud of in Wake County and a lot more to look forward to in our future. And as you know, Chair Calabria has declared prosperity for all, as he just noted, the theme of the county's work this year. And to further address what that theme means to those who work day in and day out in that effort, we've assembled a panel of great community leaders who bring unique perspectives to this conversation. And I invite them to come up at this time as I call you out. The first panelist is Adrienne Cole, the president and CEO of the Raleigh Chamber of Commerce. Adrienne leads the Triangle's largest business membership organization with more than 2,200 member firms representing 2/3 of the private sector employment in Wake County. Thank you, Adrienne, for being with us. I should note, too, that her team's responsible for helping generate that unprecedented growth that Chair Calabria noted for this year, so congratulations on a remarkable year. Our next panelist is Lorena McDowell, who is Director of Wake County's Housing Affordability and Community Revitalization Department. Now, she and her team are the ones behind all those impressive affordable housing statistics that you just saw. They're also keeping the county residents who are struggling financially in the midst of COVID-19 from getting evicted from their homes or having their utilities shut off during these difficult times. Thank you, Lorena. And our final panelist is another great partner, Pat Sturdivant, Executive Director of the Capital Area Workforce Development. And Pat leads the public-private partnership that focuses on economic development by ensuring that the local workforce has skills, training, and education to meet the needs of our employers. And she and her team also have played a critical role in attracting all of those new companies to Wake County that you just heard about from Chair Calabria. So welcome to all three of you. We're looking forward to this panel. I turn it over to our moderator, Chair Calabria.
Thank you very much, President Ralls. Thank you to all our panelists for being here. I'm really excited to have you all. I asked these three folks to comprise the panel tonight for two reasons. One, each of them is in one way or another really at ground zero for a lot of the most important stuff going on in Wake County when it comes to prosperity, when it comes to economic development, or all the things that enable us to thrive. Two, all three of them are absolute rock stars. And they are just phenomenal leaders in our community, and we are extraordinarily lucky to have each and every one of them. So I'm very, very excited to have you all here. So you all come at the work in Wake County from different backgrounds and different experiences. And of course, you know, it's hard to know how well you're doing unless you compare yourself to how other areas are doing. And I know you all have worked in different places, you go to conferences, you travel a lot, you interact with your colleagues, and so you have a sense as to not just what's going on in Wake County, but where we fit in the constellation of local governments and cutting-edge areas in the entire country. And so I wanted to start out by just asking you all, from your perspective, what are the characteristics about Wake County that stand out compared to our peers? It doesn't have to be all good stuff. It could be good stuff or bad stuff. But I'm just curious, what stands out about Wake County and what, from your perspective, makes Wake County unique? And Pat, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'll start with that one. From a Workforce Development Board perspective, I think the characteristic that stands out when I compare Wake County to workforce development regions from across the state is the collaboration and the partnership among the key workforce stakeholders. Workforce stakeholders such as the community college, economic development, and others. As workforce partners, we work together to address the workforce challenges in our region. And I think we do that because we know that there's not one organization that can address all the challenges. And just to give a few examples, Wake Tech, Dr. Ralls and members of his key leadership team and I meet on a regular basis to talk about how we can synchronize services and how we can work to ensure that the programs and services that we put together complement one another. Just in our last meeting, one of the phrases that Dr. Ralls said was, we need to talk about how we can better bolt our services. Another example, Wake County Economic Development. Michael Haley is the Executive Director of Wake County Economic Development, and he's actually a member of our Workforce Development Board. And on that board, he serves on a Sector Strategies Committee, and the role of that committee is to really come up with strategies to support high growth, high demand industries in our area to ensure that they have access to a qualified pool of talent to meet their hiring needs. And one more example, Lorena. Lorena is a member of our local reentry council. The mission of the local reentry council is to create a network of organizations and people to address the challenges that formerly incarcerated individuals face when they're trying to reintegrate back in the community. Lorena is an active member on that committee, providing input on housing challenges and, you know, helping us create strategies. So for me, again, it's the partnership and collaboration. And believe me, it's just not happening in other places in the state with those key workforce stakeholders.
That's great. Lorena.
Sure, it's a great question. And yeah, I've worked in a number of communities, and I have to say, probably the biggest thing that makes Wake County stand out is also why I wanted to come here and do the work that I do for Wake County. And it's that Wake County has some of the most forward-thinking executive leadership, I think, in just about any community that I've worked in. You can have staff that have great subject matter expertise, and you can have the best ideas and want to bring the best practices here, but if you don't have executive leadership that supports that innovation, it matters not. And all the way from each commissioner to county leadership, county manager, the chiefs, the whole nine, I feel completely supported, which allows me to support my team to bring those best practice ideas, to come up with a new, thing that's going to help move Wake County forward, and that's incredibly rare in general and certainly in government. So I think it's really the support to continue to innovate that has really made Wake County stand out for me.
Adrienne.
It's all been said, I think. can't stress enough the collaboration and the intentionality behind it. And it doesn't happen like this other places in North Carolina or in the country. So I serve on some national boards, and so a metro chambers group, so it's all the largest chambers across the country, and then some national groups for economic development. And I'm asked to speak to those communities about how we do what we do here, because they are not working as well together as we do in this community. And I think, you know, the intentionality behind that is important to note, and it comes from academic partners like Dr. Ralls and Wake Tech, our university partners in the market, our school system, Kathy and your team, our elected leaders, thank you so much for that, at the county level, and the municipalities that we get to work with, our nonprofits, our business leaders, all being willing to come together to solve the challenges facing our community, and the commitment to not only this place being a special place now, but a special place 10, 15, 20, 30 years in the future, and thinking in that forward way of how we want to be going forward. And then the other thing I will say is that intentionality, those relationships that are built, the willingness to work together, there's a foundation of trust and authenticity here that is special, and that we can't take for granted, and that we have to protect. And I think that leaders across the board are committed to that, and it really does create a special fabric and a muscle memory around working together that really is truly unique. I work with all of you on this stage, and many of you in the audience, and those watching at home, to tackle what we need to tackle, and that makes this place special. The final thing I will say is, one of my very favorite sayings is, you can fake sincerity, but you can't fake showing up. And people in this community show up, and it makes a difference.
That's great, and certainly all the stuff that you all have emphasized about collaboration and interconnectedness resonates a lot with my experience, and I know my colleagues' experience as elected officials. Another thing that I wanted to ask you all about relates to the theme that Dr. Ralls, you were good to highlight, which is prosperity for all. And this is not always the case, but in Wake County right now, considering the tremendous economic growth we're seeing, it turns out that the prosperity part is the easier part, and the for all part is the harder part. And so as we grapple with what that means for our county, I was wondering if you could tell us what you're seeing, especially with respect to, help us put a face on the folks who are being left out of our prosperity. Who are they? What do they look like? Are they families? Are they young or old or veterans or employed or unemployed? I'd just be curious who you're seeing that we perhaps ought to place a greater emphasis on as we go forward. And Pat, if we could, we'll start with you again.
Well, I'll start. Recently, I was reading an article about marginalized communities, and one of the statements in that article said that 1 out of every 3 black boys born today will spend some time in prison. And I've read other articles where it said 1 in 4, but either way, that's a staggering percentage. And to bring that closer to home, one of the programs that we serve as a workforce board is providing employment-related services to what the government calls disconnected youth. And disconnected youth for us are young people ages 16 to 24 who are disconnected from school, disconnected from employment, and disconnected for training. And so when I look at the numbers, 20% of the young people that we serve are black males. And of that 20%, 45% of them have been incarcerated. So when you look at prosperity for all, I don't think that group is going to look at it to say it is for all. Another prevalent group is the underskilled citizens, which cross over all the categories: race, gender, age. We have a large, and you touched on this earlier, we have a large group of people who don't have the skill sets to take advantage of the prosperity of Wake County. So I think that's another group that, when you say prosperity for all, they don't see it. So I think those are the 2 groups that I see most.
Helpful. Lorena.
Yeah, I think we have needs across the spectrum of demographics here in Wake County, as most communities would. But I think COVID-19 has helped us to really spotlight certain specific communities that just were on that cliff, and COVID was enough, right, to push them. And so from my department's perspective, what we've been doing is tracking that data because we intend to use it to make a difference long term, right? And so what we see for those families who are, for instance, applying for the House Wake program, by and large, they are women, they are incredibly low income, so 30% or below of the area median income, and they are people of color. Those three demographics individually each can be looked at as 30%, make up 30% of the applications that we're receiving. It's an incredible percent, or I'm sorry, 1/3, 33%. So it's an incredible percentage of the folks that are applying for these programs. And so it's a lot of people who've been on that cliff for a long time, and COVID was just enough. And so knowing that, although it's scary numbers, it tells us that we have to put the extra energy and focus into serving that population so that when we come out of COVID, we come out better, we come out stronger, right? And that requires thinking about things like workforce development, right, to lift those folks up. It requires thinking about how we continue to invest in our technical colleges to kind of close that gap and create those rungs on the ladder, as Dr. Ralls likes to say. But certainly women, people who are already low income, and people of color.
Thank you, Lorena. Adrienne.
The only thing that I would add to that would be, I completely agree, and I think that they're highlighting the right groups, but also the impact of the pandemic disproportionately on women who dropped out of the workforce entirely and have just fallen off of the radar. And so how do we find them if they need new skills and different support to get them back into the workforce? And you touched on some groups earlier in your presentation, Chair Calabria, around veterans, people returning from incarceration into the workforce, and with our unemployment rate being what it is, we need everyone participating in the workforce. And so we need to make sure that we are reaching folks, making sure that they have the skills that they need for those good jobs of the future.
And I misspoke, it's actually 2/3, sorry. Each one of those are 2/3.
There you go, thank you. So one thing I wanted to give you all an opportunity to do, and Adrienne, maybe we'll start with you this time, is just give you an opportunity to talk about your work, if you want to highlight one or maybe two projects that you're working on. Each of you, as I mentioned earlier, is really central to the flourishing of this county, whether it be workforce development or housing and community revitalization or all sorts of economic development activity. And so I wanted to give you all an opportunity to highlight something that you thought was particularly important or noteworthy. And Adrienne, maybe we'll start with you.
Goodness gracious, how do you pick one? I don't know, or even two. So if I'm going to highlight two, I'm kind of excited about all of it, but I'll try to narrow it down. Lorena's laughing at me. So our economic development work, I'm super excited about. We work closely with Pat and Calabria Workforce Development Board, many of the partners here, Dr. Ralls and Wake Tech, and you pointed to Fujifilm earlier, the Apple project. But we're also doing a lot of work with small businesses. We're working a lot with entrepreneurs in the startup ecosystem, and super excited about those people who are starting new businesses and creating jobs through small business creation in our market. So our work around economic development, you mentioned that we announced some of the largest economic development projects in Wake County's history over the last 15 months, $3.7 billion in investment and almost 6,000 jobs. Our current pipeline, we have about 40 active projects. They equal $4 billion in potential investment and about 9,500 jobs. So it's a very active pipeline, but then we're also working with, I had a fantastic conversation yesterday with a young man who was starting a new company, and so our ability to help those really promising startups and wrap them with services and help them be successful is something that I'm very excited about in our work. So that job creation and investment in our community is something that I get excited about. I'm also excited about an initiative that we're working on with the county and many of the partners here. We are definitely a partner in it. We are working with RTI around a study where we're looking at systems that perpetuate racism and create real problems in our community around economic mobility, health equity, education equity, and criminal justice reform. And so while we are a participant in this, we are working on it with the county. Thank you all for your participation. with the city, and we have some corporate support in that effort as well from companies like Duke Energy. All of you are participating in that. Many people in the audience are as well. Those working groups are hard at work, and we're very excited about the recommendations that are going to come from that effort.
We are too. Lorena.
And I giggled because there's no way you can pick one. There's no way. There are a number of things happening right now in housing, and I think that people would expect me to say COVID-19 eviction prevention program. Super proud of that program, but if I may, for a moment, think beyond COVID-19. You know, I'm really excited about the work that we're doing around preserving affordable housing. That preservation fund is going to be just really a game changer for us here. To have a fund that's easily accessible for those developers and folks who want to come in and renovate those buildings and keep them affordable rather than lose them to the open market. That's going to be big. We can keep developing, but we have to maintain what we already have. And so for that reason, that's important. But also, hitting that goal of our development. I mean, 2,500 units was our goal in 5 years, and we are this close. If the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency approves our applications for tax credits, we'll hit it this year. We're super excited about that. Our efforts on homelessness cannot be ignored, so I have to throw that last third one out there. Our South Wilmington Street Center, over the last 2 years, in the midst of COVID, has undergone a complete revamp of the model. We've gone from what really was kind of a revolving door, folks coming in and out and maybe housing about 14% of people, to housing tons of chronically homeless men, permanently ending their cycle of homelessness because of this new model that they have underwent. And so we've gone from 14% to increasing that by 35% that we were housing the second year. This year in the first quarter, we will triple what we did last year. And that was an increase from the year before. So we are just, I mean, that shelter is really doing amazing things to end the cycle of homelessness for folks here, including a veteran that had been homeless for more than 20 years. That's amazing. And now we're investing in the rest of the shelters, so the $10 million that you announced, so they can see those same outcomes. And so I'm super proud of those efforts right now.
That's really just such inspiring work, Lorena. Thank you. Pat.
I'm like everybody else on the panel. I'm excited about a lot of projects, but the one that I will highlight is the expansion of our local reentry council. As I mentioned earlier, the local reentry council's mission is to create a network of partners and organizations, and right now we have about 35 to 40 organizations that participate on our low reentry, that participate on the Reentry Council, really again addressing the employment, the housing, and other supportive services to try to support the transition of formerly incarcerated individuals and their families back into the community. So thanks to the Wake County Commissioners, we're going to be able to expand that program so that we can serve more individuals, so that we can provide more resources for education and training and some of the simple supportive services that individuals need, such as a shirt to wear to an interview or helping to relieve some of the fees and get a driver's license. So I'm really excited about that. And also a part of that expansion, we're going to be able to provide small grants to community-based organizations that also serve individuals coming back to the community. And so what this is going to do is allow them to increase their capacity so that they can provide more services to these individuals as well. So I think supporting this community and it's supporting formerly incarcerated to better integrate back in the community is going to address a lot of the things that we talked about today, shrinking that skills gap and supporting businesses when they're looking for employers, because when we talk to employers today, we all know this. They say we can't find the talent we need, and what we're telling them is you've got to expand who you look at. So I think this effort is going to support that as well.
You know, it's a good problem to have when the hardest question you get is just to pick one thing that you're excited about. That's so the last question I had for this panel comes from the context we're in, where we've made tremendous advances, but we also are well aware that we're not done yet, and we've got plenty to do. We've got a lot of work out there. We're not going to get bored. So as we keep in mind Wake County's context amid other counties and other major metropolitan areas, as we keep in mind our prosperity, but also the fact that that's not felt evenly across our county. And as we see what's on the horizon, as hopefully COVID-19 will dissipate over the next several months, what's one thing that we really need to keep our eye on? What is one thing that we really need to get right in the next, say, 5 or 10 years to ensure that we continue to be the kind of place that we want to be, or do even better than we are? So Adrienne, we'll start with you.
I'm going to fudge, and so I'm not going to say just one. So I will say that the one thing I will say is we have to continue to make the right investments now that are forward thinking. And we can't make decisions just for today. We have to be making decisions for, as I said, 10, 15, 20, even 50 years in the future when you think about the history of RTP and the vision that that took. And when I talk about investments, I'm talking about investments in housing affordability, in transit and transportation and a regional transportation network and transit system, commuter rail. I'm thinking education and workforce development and the investment in pre-K all the way through postgraduate, credentialing, apprenticeships, all that entire continuum of education, and making sure that we're making the right investments, that we're investing in quality of place, so parks and greenways, and that those things that make this place so special to live. And so the one thing is we've got to be forward thinking and making the right investments, but we can't be singular in what we are thinking about. We also have to be thinking about infrastructure. How are we planning for water and sewer infrastructure regionally as we continue to attract life science companies? Because we are a life science leader in the world, period. And we need to be planning for that. The Fujifilm and Amgen and Invitae and some of these companies that we've announced this year, we're not done. And so we need to be thinking about what is that future and be brave enough to make the right investments today to sustain us 50 years into the future.
Lorena.
100%, and I'm just going to piggyback on what you said. I agree 100% with what you said, and so if I had to say something in simple terms, I would say that we have to continue to really innovate and focus on the efforts that we're working on from a systems perspective, because they're all connected, right? And if we put, for instance, it's great that housing has a lot of attention and we get lots of support. You talked about some more financial support that we're getting. That's wonderful. But if we're not investing in workforce development, right? If we're not investing in training and educating the future, the efforts that we're making in housing will end up more like Band-Aids that will sort of fall off, right? Because we have to educate and we have to employ and we have to pay our workforce enough to keep up with the cost of living that's increasing. Right? And so I think as long as we're thinking about it from a systems perspective and ensuring that we're looking at this holistically and continue to be innovative, I think Wake County is going to do great.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you said, and it's hard for me to take my Workforce Development Board hat off. My answer is short. I think we have to continue to be intentional and put focus on closing that skill gap. So when we talk about all the things where Wake County is growing and we're bringing great businesses in order for us to continue to grow and continue to make sure all people have access to family-sustaining careers, we've got to close that gap and we've got to be intentional. Because I've been in the workforce development system for a little over 14 years now, and whether the economy is good or bad, the gap always exists. So I think we're chipping away at it, but we've got to continue to be intentional and focus on that.
Thank you. Pat Sturdivant, Lorena McDowell, Adrienne Cole, thank you so much for everything that you do. Thank you so much. Well, one thing that's really clear in Wake County is we have just phenomenal people leading our efforts and looking out for our residents. So thank you again. Now we get to kick it back to Dr. Ralls to close us out.
Well, thank you, Chair Calabria. Well done. And I made particular note of those fashionable Wake Tech socks you're sporting tonight. So thank you. Now, I don't know about all of you, but I'm feeling pretty fortunate to live in a county, Wake County, where so many good things are happening, but they're not occurring by accident. The progress that we're making as a community is because of the great collaboration I think Adrienne said it well, authentic collaboration between our local elected leaders, our nonprofits, our private sector employers, our partners, so many others. We all want Wake County to be on the top of every best of list because we know that what we have to offer here is second to none. But as Chair Calabria expressed so well, we don't want to just be excellent. We must also aspire to be good. And that means we don't want our most vulnerable residents left behind as we grow and prosper. On the contrary, we want to lift them up and help them live healthy, successful, prosperous lives. Now, as was just noted in this panel, that kind of outlook is essential to building a stronger, more equitable community where everyone can thrive. We want people to move to our community because of what we have here, but we want to be the best community where people can move up into what we have here. I am grateful to be part of it. I'm so thankful to call Wake County home, and I want to thank our speakers who shared such inspiring words with us tonight. Thank you. And I also want to thank our in-person guests for attending, as well as the many folks who are out there tonight who watched this event online. And thank you for joining us this evening. And finally, I want to thank Chair Calabria, all of our county commissioners, as well as the Wake County Board of Education. I'll throw in the Wake Tech Board of Trustees, all of those who work to get and who gave so many exciting milestones for us to talk about and to celebrate this evening. Wake County will post a video of this event on the website tomorrow, so please visit wakegov.com SOTC21. That's wakegov.com SOTC, state of the county, SOTC21 to check it out. Have a great evening and please be safe. Thank you.